Good morning, everybody. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Hello, Linda, Rosa, Julie, Angel, Clara, Kia. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Yeah, it's pretty cold here, too. Frozen pipe again. Huh? This morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, they were perfect timing. Good morning, Shawnee. Hello, Silver. Happy Monday. You know, as happy as any Monday is these days. Good morning. Still waiting for winter in Idaho? It's here. They're talking like we might get some snow next weekend. We'll see if that actually happens, but that's what they're talking. The news is crazy this morning. The news is crazy every morning, Laura, but yes, the news is kind of crazy this morning. Trump charging $1 billion to be a part of this peace group. Like, what the hell? Are we buying our way into these things now? Is that how it works? Pay Trump I've never seen such a grifter. Never seen such a grifter. And people keep doing it. Good morning, Carla. Feels like minus 100 here. Ugh. He sent an invite to Putin. Color me shocked. Color me shocked. Yeah, Trump telling Sweden, which, by the way, Sweden has no authority over the Nobel Peace Prize, but telling Sweden that because he didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize, he feels no obligation to be peaceful is wild. Is wild. Like there are times when I think we as a country and we just do really stupid things. That is the dumbest thing. Yeah, unfortunately, Carla, the Nobel Committee came out and said, that's just a medal. It means nothing. So now he's pissed again. Hey, Jeremiah, good morning. Well, it's good that they are saying they're pissed, Angel. I will believe it's good news when they do something about it. I've yet to see them being willing to do anything about it. And until I'm willing to see that, until I see that, nothing else matters. By the way, hey Scott. Yeah, you just like that's like saying if I won a gold medal at the Olympics, that me handing you the gold medal meant that you were a gold medal winner at the Olympics. That's not how it works. Like, gosh, people. Oh, and by the way, if anyone, I don't see anyone ever doing a trade deal with us ever again after what Trump's doing in Greenland. Using tariffs to go against the trade deal that he signed with the EU because they wouldn't support his taking or buying of Greenland. Why would anyone do a trade deal with us ever again? Why would anyone do a trade deal with us ever again? I thought MAGA hated participation trophies. Someone give me a Grammy. I can't sing for shit, but it will prove me right. Yeah. I don't think they'll do trade deals. I don't think they'll do trade deals. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it will be a deal. I don't think there will be deals. The whole point of deals is getting is both sides getting something. I don't think they'll do that anymore. Any deal they make has, I mean, we knew it before, but he just keeps proving that any deal he makes is means as much, is as valuable as the paper it's written on, assuming it's written on paper. We're just going to have to accept what they give us. That's what it's going to be. They're going to have to accept what they give us. I would not be surprised if you start seeing, they're not tariffs, but they're basically they make things more expensive for our country. Oh, I mean in the future too. Because who's to say things won't go back to the way they were? We talked about this before. You may not have been here yet, Silver. Scott and I have talked about this before. If you knew that with a Democratic president, that you make a deal that the next president that comes in could just snap their fingers and ignore the deal completely, why would you make a deal in the first place? other countries are also losing trust in the American people and their ability to choose the right person. Not all the American people, but in a big majority. We may get sanctioned. We may. I mean, there's definitely talk of it. It's definitely a possibility. Oh, we absolutely are going to. The only way trust can be earned is if we earn it. We have to earn it again, which is going to mean making massive changes to how things are done here. Do sanctions have any weight? You got to remember that nothing happens in a vacuum. So will it have weight instantly? Maybe not. Maybe not. Just like the US economy isn't just crashed. Things don't just don't happen like that in general. That doesn't mean something couldn't happen, but in general, things like that don't just happen. We are just going to be going like this, barring everybody just selling US bonds, which is a possibility, I guess. That would seriously crash the economy. We trust Germany now, don't we? Yeah, it took a long time to trust Germany. And there are actually, interestingly enough, there are people that are nervous about Germany increasing their military. I've read stories of people that are nervous about countries that are nervous about them increasing their military. The markets due Friday? I don't remember. I mean, they're already down today to start. Not a lot, but they're already down to start. Oh wait, no, they were down. Sorry, it hasn't switched over yet. Oh, it's because it's MLK Day, so they're not going to be open today. So yeah, they went down a little bit. It went down a little bit. Friday seems so long ago. It's true. Sad, but true. We lost power in our house twice last night. So it went out at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. And then again and came on like 2.5 hours later. And then it went out again at like 11:45 for like an hour-ish. 45 minutes to an hour. We don't even get a break from him on the weekends. No. Good morning, Summer. Yeah, it's all wild. I mean, you guys, a lot of you saw the video that I made on Saturday of that congressman who's like, just do what you're told and you won't die. It's like, dude, I've never seen. Now, again, obviously, I haven't been alive for 250 years, but I've never seen. This is just wild. My brain can't comprehend what's going on. That's how wild it is. Yeah, just comply. Comply and you won't, and nothing will happen to you. Just do what I tell you and everything will be fine. Just wild. It doesn't matter if what you're doing is legal or not, as long as you do what you're told. I watched this other person be like, just do what they tell you to do, and if they make a mistake, then they'll just let you go. And it's like, excuse me? Jeez. Hey, Eleanor. All I did was anxiety bake this weekend, and now I have a house full of sweets. Hey, you know, you can send some over here. I love sweets. All right, I'm gonna go live over on TikTok right now because I feel like having people up. So I don't feel like talking into the void anymore right now. So we're gonna go live. Let Scott and Kia and anyone else in the community that wants to jump up do it. Oh yeah, we've seen what they do when they make a mistake. Nope, it's no bueno. It's no bueno.
Good
Hello.
morning. Happy Martin Luther King Day.
Happy Martin Luther King Day.
I saw one of my favorite creators get called out because they did a little bit of a background today that was a little tone deaf. And even when I saw it, honestly, like when I saw it, I was like, okay, it was a picture of Milli Vanilli giving their Grammy to the orange one. Basically along the lines what we were kind of talking about a while ago.
Yeah.
But the fact they didn't think about why would you use two black fellas on Martin Luther King Day, and then people in the chat started saying something, I have to give it to them. They immediately changed it, and then they did it. It was like one of the dudes from Top Gun giving a statue of one of the jets to him. Yeah, Siberia. They changed it immediately once they saw it. But I was just wondering, with all of the stuff that's going on, it gets you so hyper and you're just so all up in your feelings all the time. And there's just so much shit going on.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there, I was like, is that the right thing to do? And I was so glad when other people called it out too, because I wasn't just,
And again, I'm not gonna sit here and say goodbye, floppy. I am not gonna justify it obviously in any way. Just as someone who obviously spends a lot of time trying to make sure that what they do is tries to be aware of what they say and what they do and how it can affect other people. I just feel like it's getting harder. Not because any of the things that we need to do or say are wrong, like, and not do or not say are wrong to not do or say. It's getting so crazy out there, and my brain is almost getting exhausted because there's just so much. You can see my weakness. Ah. Okay, dude.
as you sit on your mom's couch in the basement and say stuff like that to other people on the internet. Good morning, Scott.
That sounds like something out of Star Wars. I see your weakness, Luke.
No, you got it. Hold on. Ready?
I see. Oh, wait, gotta go. I see your weakness, Luke.
I am your father.
I am your father. Together we will rule the galaxy as father and son.
Oh, I love Star Wars. Thinking of Dr. King today. For 3 years in law school, entering the tower at Boston University, I passed the statue of Dr. King, who also graduated, got his divinity degree from Boston University. And, on this day, you think of his last major speech, where his mountaintop speech. It's haunting, it's poignant, just moving. A lot of his speeches were great. He was an excellent orator. We all know that probably none better. You think of the great orators of American history, maybe Henry Clay, Dr. King, Jack Kennedy, Franklin Roosevelt. But he was predicting his own death on practically the eve of it. He knew he would not survive. And yet he was urging people to look to the future and predicting that the future would be bright. And that takes a very special person to do that. And it's good and well that we remember him on this day.
I don't know how many people that are listening are Star Wars fans, but I've been watching Andor, the series Andor again. I'll be making some videos about it, but you should watch it again. If you haven't, you should watch it. If you have, you should watch it again. It's frightening how much watching it I feel like I'm watching it's like I'm watching right now, but obviously in a different galaxy. Like it's just a different galaxy, but exactly what's going on now. It's totally worth it. You should watch it.
I've never seen any of those at all the way through. I've seen snippets. I know enough of it to know who they are, but I've never seen them.
I say no to Greenland and cut off every dime to Europe, fend for themselves. I don't think you realize, Tenna, how much the United States benefits from Europe. Like, how much the United States benefits from Europe. I know you and many in this country think that it's the other way around. It's not the other way around. That doesn't mean Europe hasn't benefited from stuff because of the United States, but nah, it's the other way around.
NATO is 77 years old. There's never been a more successful treaty organization and defense organization in the history of the world. We have benefited greatly from that. And any invasion of Greenland would end 8 decades of peace that the NATO organization gave us, because obviously one NATO country attacking another NATO country, especially the major NATO country, the United States, doing it would spell the end of the alliance. It would also spell the end of any cooperation from the EU with the United States, and that includes the threat of sanctions against our service and tech sector, which up to now the Europeans haven't even threatened. They are meeting now to discuss that, and that would cause the United States to go into a recession. This is all insane, folks. And we have a president who actually sent a message to the Prime Minister of Norway, not Denmark, which owns Greenland, Norway, saying that since they didn't give him the Nobel Prize, he's going to invade Greenland, basically. Now, leaving aside the fact he wrote to the wrong prime minister, Norway has no say over how the Nobel Peace Prize is awarded. So that makes his infantile letter even more infantile. You know, at what point, and this is to you MAGAs out there, at what point does this all become just too embarrassing? Is there any bottom for you? At what point is this so ridiculous, so insane, so obviously mentally unbalanced that it becomes an embarrassment for you?
Greenland is a territory of Denmark. It doesn't own it. Greenland has their own, but they are still a part of Denmark. I don't know what you're screaming about.
Yes, I don't think people with the caps, like, you do realize when you're typing in caps, like, you're yelling, and while we understand people are passionate and upset, like, that's how the mods communicate with each other and with the host, and that's how a lot of lives do that as well. That's all right. Just, we know everybody's pissed off and passionate because this is fucking crazy.
We're good, bro. No more pronouns. No more pronouns. Oh my gosh. Or women in sports. No more women in sports. That's all we cared about.
No more pronouns or women in sports. That's okay. No more health care either. No more rural hospitals. No more urgent care centers. Boy, you've got your priorities lined up. Congratulations. You're losing your health care. You're losing your urgent care centers. You're losing your rural hospitals. You've got inflation. But on the plus side, you did kick that trans kid off the high school track team. So congratulations. That's what you were after. I'm glad you got all you voted for. And, of course, tax cuts to billionaires.
Oh, and now everyone's starting to realize that that the no tax on overtime and no tax on tips and all that stuff isn't what they thought it was. Like,
You know, Scott, Scott, you know what though? I bet you when they sign their emails, they say Mr. So-and-so, not even realizing what they're doing. Gotta
Yeah.
love the pronouns. Good morning, Attorney Di.
Hey, Di.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and yeah, it's gonna be a busy week. There are so many just ridiculous people out there that are just like with Greenland right now that are just like, yeah, we can take it. We should just take it. Just like I saw one guy who said we should block the truth. No, I block people that don't follow the rules of this live. There are people that are like, there's this one guy that I'm gonna be making a video who said, we took Alaska, we should just take Greenland. First off, we didn't take Alaska, we bought Alaska. We bought Alaska because the person that owned Alaska before was willing to sell us Alaska. We didn't go, give us Alaska or we're going to take it from you. We bought it.
Not only that, we have a 1951 treaty with Greenland that allows us to do anything we want militarily with Greenland. Trump views this as a national security threat. Fine. We can put as many troops in Greenland as we want. Greenland and Denmark have never once denied an American request, not since 1940, when we first stationed troops in Greenland to protect the sea routes for Lend-Lease going to Great Britain in World War II. They have never denied any request the United States has made. And as for the president's assertion that, well, they just landed a ship there 300 years ago, so they don't really control it, well, we, to begin with, will leave aside the fact that the United States was settled before they pushed out the indigenous people by a ship landing. We'll leave that out. But also, under treaty, we recognize Denmark's rights there. And Denmark recognizes the autonomy or the partial autonomy in terms of domestic affairs of the people who inhabit Greenland, the 57,000 people. So we have no right to Greenland. And as a military thing, there is no reason to take it over when we can have everything we want. As the Danish prime minister said, all they have to do is ask and we'll give it to them. And as for the threats from Russia and China, do you really think China's going to go to war with NATO? Greenland is a part of NATO. Do you really think China's going to go to war with NATO? And Russia, they can't even beat Ukraine. They're not going to go to war with NATO.
None of them has even said anything about Greenland. Russia specifically has said they have no interest. They know that Greenland is a part of Denmark. And the only thing China has been interested in is the their own economic growth without border interference. I mean, China is, China's pretty self-contained. Like, yes, they have had skirmishes amongst their border, but they don't really get involved in foreign affairs like the United States does.
Well, they get involved in foreign affairs, but they use soft power rather than military power. You're quite right. They've had a history of not being hegemonistic like other countries have. As for Russia, I wouldn't believe what Russia says. I'm simply because Vladimir Putin is a pathological liar. But Russia doesn't have the military might to take on Greenland or anybody else because that's part of NATO. And Russia, as I said, Russia can't even beat Ukraine. They're a paper tiger.
Blueprint, I don't bring up people I don't know. I don't bring up people I don't know. As easy as that. So, you want to talk and stick around? You're more than welcome. But
looking historically back at anything like, let's just say modern, what we consider modern times, for the United States involvement when it comes to overthrowing a country's government in some way, shape, or form, or military involvement. When you look back at all of these countries that we have had, like, delved into to try to quote unquote help them, where are they now? How well has that gone for them? I can't think of a single country really that we've gone into to supposedly help them using military force that it hasn't completely like destroyed their country even decades later.
Well, certainly post-World War II, our adventures in nation building have not worked out well. You're certainly correct. Japan worked out well, good point. And Germany. Japan and Germany, but that was a different story. That was after the Second World War, and both of those countries were in ashes. Japan was an open-air crematoria when we went in there.
Look,
I mean, we overthrew the prime minister in Iran in 1953 and reinstituted the Shah. That started a chain of events that is still going on today, none of which has been beneficial to the United States. We got involved in South Vietnam. How'd that work out for us? We got involved in the Dominican Republic, and that didn't work out well for us either. We got involved in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we all know how that worked out for us. So none of those worked out terribly well.
Few things though. First, if you're over here on TikTok and you like what's going on, please tap that nose. It helps push the live out to other people. But more than that, we also need to talk about the fact that no matter what anyone here thinks, the fact is this administration has shown the entire world that treaties and agreements and everything else don't matter. He went on this whole rant about how about making these agreements and deals with other countries, and made one with the EU, and then when the EU didn't do what he wanted them to do, he threatened, and may have already, I think he's only threatened, I don't think he has yet, to put tariffs on all the countries that aren't supporting his desire to take Greenland.
Oh, he's already done it. 10% February 1st and 25% more on June 1st. So he's already done it. Of course, we could have the Supreme Court stepping in before any of this occurs, and that'd be the end of those tariffs. So
treaties have never really mattered to this administration or to this government. I would disagree that no treaties have ever mattered to the United States government throughout the years. That does not mean that we've been perfect, but sure, there's plenty of treaties that we've stuck with for years and years and years.
Welsh guy in chat brings up a very good point. Up to now, the Europeans have not unleashed what they call their bazooka option. And what is their bazooka option? Americans should be well aware of that. Up to now, they have put retaliatory tariffs, and smaller ones than we put. They've tried to de-escalate on goods sold to Europe, which is understandable. What they have not done is where America really makes its money, which is services and technology. And they are now threatening that. Folks, that would put us in a recession. And by the way, all you tech bros who support Trump, what do you think about that? What would you think about Facebook, TikTok, everything else being, or Facebook, Meta, everything being banned from Europe? What would Elon think about X being banned from Europe? What would any of the tech bros think? Stopping all technology cooperation with the United States. So this is dangerous ground.
And Johnny, yeah, nowhere did I ever say that we have kept all of our treaties. To many groups of people, we have not been the best. especially Native Americans. But that the statement was that we have never. Again, I don't mind people making statements saying we are bad at it. We are bad at it. But if you're gonna use words like never, know what you're saying.
Johnny also says that blue states are a mess. Yeah, I mean, we're nothing like those powerhouse red states like Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana,
Mississippi.
Kentucky, Mississippi, West Virginia. Yeah, we're nothing like those powerhouse states. You really hit the nail on the head there. And if the blue states are such a mess, how come we pay more into the federal government that gets shipped to the red states to keep them afloat? Haven't figured that one out, huh, Johnny?
It will never cease to amaze me the people who will defend red states that are in some of the worst economic and quality of life situations in the entire country. You know, like my home state is West Virginia. I still live here. And it is like driving across the border to Maryland, into parts of Pennsylvania, definitely into Virginia. It is like driving into a different world, into a different time in history. I don't think that unless you have experienced and know what the economic outlook and how people live in these conditions are truly experiencing, and then leave, if you grew up in it, and then you leave and you see how other states are living, you cannot comprehend the level of disconnect, the difference. I mean, they just came out with a report. I would have to look up exactly what it was through, but it showed that there is a 20-year difference in how long you may live between southern red states and northern blue states. You will live an average of 20 years longer if you live in a state like Massachusetts versus a state like Louisiana.
And Philip, by the way, I agree with you. The American government has never done right by the Native American, by the indigenous people, Never. No argument, not even a little bit. That's all I got to say. There's no argument. Nick Shirley went to Greenland. I feel bad for Greenland.
A special envoy that Greenland doesn't want.
Yeah. Asking the people. Okay. You know they voted on these kind of things, right? They've already been doing this stuff. Can you find people in Greenland that want to become part of the United States? I'm sure. And actually, you talk to a lot of them, they are Americans. I've seen interviews of Americans who married Greenlanders. I think that's how you say it. And they're the ones that want they want to become part of the United States. I have yet to hear many, if any, actual Greenlanders say yes. We have an idiot named Jorgen Bosen want to be part of the USA. Also some other. Yeah, I have no doubt that there are some, but a majority, no. Even close to a majority, no.
I would say, so Welsh guy, in our country, the courts are not the one who does the impeachment. That's up to Congress, the House and the Senate. And as it stands right now, it would get anywhere. And I don't think it's fair. Like, yes, the justice system is slow, but there's over 500, I don't know if Dai's still here, but 500 something cases, they are being sued. Unfortunately, the law system just kind of sucks and it takes long, but they are not winning. Most of the cases that have been closed and stuff, they are not winning.
Why? I wonder why would Greenlanders want to leave the protection of Denmark? Not only that, but having seen the BS that Puerto Rico deals with on a daily, if not yearly basis, as being a territory of the United States, I don't know why the hell anyone would want to become a territory of the United States.
Robert says, I wonder what the Greenlanders will say when they're occupied by Russia. Robert, you
say
do
hello,
understand.
NATO.
You do understand that
They would say
Greenland
hello,
is a part
NATO.
of NATO. You do understand that, don't you? Russia can't even beat Ukraine. You think they're going to take on NATO? Are you insane? Literally, are you insane?
Why would I leave America, Kevin? This is my home. NATO won't care. They're part of NATO.
It's Article 5. They're part of NATO. Jesus Christ, you are dim.
They don't have a choice but to care. Golly. Golly.
And by the way, Russia is not going to invade.
No.
Greenland. And neither is China.
The only reason anyone's even saying it is because Trump is saying it. Nobody else has said it. It's nothing. And again, the United States has the capability of having 20 bases in Greenland. They used to have 12. 10 or 12, I forget what it was. And we shut them down.
16.
16. We used to have 16.
Yeah, we didn't need them because the Cold War had ended. And here's the thing, folks. We have a 1951 treaty with Greenland and Denmark. We can put as many bases there as we want. If there is a perceived threat to the Arctic, the United States can go in anyway. We don't need to take them over. They will let us come. They will let us set up our military bases there. They have no problem with that. Therefore, that leaves just one question. For what possible reason would we want to take the country over when we can get everything we want without taking it over?
How many times has America tried to buy Greenland? Multiple times. Multiple times. Treaties are never broken. Good Lord. Oh.
You know, I want to bring up a quick point about the territory thing. You know, with Greenland as a territory of Denmark versus the United States territories. Greenland actually has national voting power in its parliament. They get 2 members to directly vote in Denmark's government. The United States territories don't have that. So they don't have voting power. They get a delegate that doesn't really count for anything because they're not allowed to vote on a national scale. Greenland also economically supports, or Denmark also economically supports Greenland much better and takes care of its people much better than the United States takes care of its territories.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like a majority of Americans don't even know what the United States territories even are. I mean, our own administration was basically acting like Puerto Rico, and they don't even want them, let alone consider them actual Americans.
Hell, the only reason that this administration and Republicans are unwilling to let Puerto Rico even consider becoming a state, really, is because they're worried that they'll vote Democrat. Not because they care, not because of anything. They just don't want them to act. We're worried they will vote Democrat because that will give them 2 senators, and I don't know how many people live in Puerto Rico, so 1 or 2 representatives.
Yeah, I mean, if the territories actually got a chance to represent themselves, then it would most definitely change the balance of power.
$3.29 million people approximately.
So 4 representatives-ish.
Yeah, because what they don't want to happen is they don't want to keep doing all this gerrymandering and all this other slick shit trying to damn affect votes. Like, I don't know, have any of you guys seen videos of like up at central my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's a historical black college here in North Carolina, and the students were protesting because of them wanting to take a box off of campus.
They're doing it in
And
multiple universities in North Carolina.
yes, and the thing is, because I heard it and I was like, at first I just thought about the fact, like, just taking away places to vote. But then I really started thinking about how fucked up that really truly is. Because if you think about it, when it's time to vote, when it's election time, where are the students? They're at college. And not everybody comes from in-state. So those students, if you're taking away like the availability of options for people to be able to vote, that'll make it harder for people to be able to get to voting places. I think it's really disingenuous. It's really fucked up what they're doing to the young generations.
Ugh, Kia, don't even get me started on the box locations or voting poll locations. It is so insidious and basically, I'm just going to straight up say it, evil, what they do with polling locations. Minority districts tend to have hours-long waits to vote because they will have only one location to vote in, versus majority affluent white locations, they will have several areas and it'll be minutes long to vote. And this is especially true in, like you said, like colleges. Not only are you disenfranchising college students who are from out of state, but you're also disenfranchising everyone in college because a lot of people in college do not have access or easy access to public transportation. And many colleges, you can't even bring a vehicle to school with you. So when they don't have easy access to travel to a polling location, what's that do? It just makes them it disenfranchises people to actually go out and vote.
And I want to say, like, oh my God, goodbye, Cicely. Nick Shirley is a grifter who knows that if you feed the right conspiracies, they will throw him tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of money. And you know what? He's right. He's right.
Candace Owens gets pretty rich from it too.
Chosen one, don't start. I'm gonna just say that now. Don't start.
That's every
Let's
is not every content creator on TikTok.
Let's not talk about fraud when you voted for fraudsters. So let's not do that.
Now, if there was actually fraud going on as well, don't you think this administration would be waving that evidence in front of cameras any chance they get?
Not to mention, the Department of Justice has chosen to out loud say they don't have to give anybody the rest of the Epstein files.
Yep. What's Congress doing about it? Nothing. And they're the ones who passed the act. They don't care. They're washing their hands of it.
Well, Republicans knew exactly what was going to go on. I mean, every single one of them ended up voting for it because they knew that even if it passed, they're the ones who get to control basically like the consequences of it.
Correct.
They knew exactly what they were doing.
Correct.
Yep. They get to tell their constituents, oh, well, I voted to release everything. I can't control what the DOJ does. Well, actually, you can, but they won't.
Yep. Yes, it has been shown time and time again that if you want to just grift, be a MAGA, be on the right, because dang if they won't just throw money at anybody. Kind of nuts right now. I don't think we all realize the full gravity of what this administration will has caused to happen. If we're talking globally, lack of trust in the United States, lack of support in the United States globally, internally, lack of trust. Obviously, there was little trust in the government to begin with. There's going to be even less. Little trust in the judiciary. There is going to be a massive trust problem in this country, in this globe, because of this administration. And it's going to take decades. And they are all corrupt. Wake up. See, again, you make this blanket statement and you don't seem to understand that those kind of statements are the reason. You're saying they're corrupt. You're saying all of them are corrupt. Every single one. So what's your response? Get rid of them and put new people in. No, but they're corrupt. You can just say it. You just say they're corrupt.
Democrats. So apparently only Democrats are corrupt.
Well, in terms of the United States credibility, both in its institutions internally, we've already seen the collapse of that. Polling has made that clear, and that's not a new phenomenon. However, this weekend, another poll came out. Pew polled 31 different countries as to whether the United States can be considered reliable anymore. They were all in the negative. Canada, 77% think the United States is unreliable. In Great Britain, 62%. In Greece, 63%. In Poland, 63%. In Germany, 81% thinks we're unreliable. In Mexico, 91% think we're unreliable. And in Argentina, after getting $40 billion from Donald Trump, 61% think we're unreliable. So we're not doing too good in terms of global ranking.
Have you guys seen the incident with Mitch McConnell? Yes, he should step down. I don't know how that man is still walking.
Yeah, there's been so many instances over the years.
That man.
I know how he's still walking.
I know.
I know how he's still walking. Have you ever seen Weekend at Bernie's? That's how he's still walking.
And just to be clear, I felt the same way about also other Democrats who were up there in age. We are equal opportunists when it comes to stepping down from Congress when you are no longer capable of doing your job.
Yep, sure. Senator Feinstein comes to mind.
That's why there should not be any more, that's why there should be an age limit at the top, a retirement age. At minimum. We've talked about this before. I've always been against term limits on Congress on the House of Representatives, at least, if not both, because we do get the ability to retire them. It's called voting. I just don't know if I trust that Americans are going to care enough to actually pay attention.
And we have plenty of jobs federally that require a retirement age. And that's not even saying that they can't continue to work in other aspects of our government. They can be mentors. They can be, I don't know, like whatever, lobbyists. There's so many other things that they could do without
We
damaging.
can do senior consultants or something like that. Like there's a lot of things where people that have been in it aren't making the decisions, but they'll still stick around and help younger people because they just need help.
I believe the mandatory retirement age for air traffic controllers is 56, and I understand that. It's a very important job. I tend to think that being president of the United States is a pretty important job too, and I don't think we should have 80-year-olds as president of the United States. That's not ageist. I'm old myself. I wouldn't want myself to be president. I don't have the energy to do it. And I know I have more energy than the last two presidents. This is ridiculous that we do this. And the only reason I've slowly come around to term limits is because, yes, we do have elections every 2 years for the House of Representatives, but we reelect over 90% of them.
Yeah.
So we have to be protected from ourselves, frankly, and we should have term limits in addition to age limits.
I think the reason why I'm good with the term limits and not necessarily because we vote, because we've seen what having no term limits does, and these people just run and run and run, and nobody runs against them on their side. Nobody like primaries them. They're just like automatically like a shoo-in. And I think that's part of the problem because there is no term limits. They know they can literally just not do shit, and they just all get together and they're like, "Hey, we're not going to primary that person. How is voting ever going to change that situation?" I think there should be term limits, and then maybe if they know, like, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to stay here for my whole life and just keep wreaking havoc," maybe that would change how things are done.
You might be right.
Yeah, could be. I mean, it's a strong argument, and the fact remains that we elect. Yes, we have elections every 2 years, and every 2 years we elect. We say how much we hate Congress. It's the approval rating of Congress is always in the teens. It's horrible, and yet we reelect over 90% of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've got to be protected from ourselves.
The reality is yes, too many don't have anyone running against them, and honestly, this goodbye. Honestly, this this midterm will be a very interesting view into whether or not that's still the case. There are more people running against incumbents within the party as well as outside against the incumbent who's on the other side of the party than I've ever experienced. I've talked to many people that are running against other Democrats because the Democratic incumbent because of what they have supported and are done. So we'll see if that's the case this time around.
Yeah, I think a lot of incumbents are going to go down. In other words, there won't be a 90% reelection rate in this coming election.
Well,
but normally there are.
Some of that is we also have more people just not running anymore than we've had in a long time. Like the amount of people that are just stepping down completely because they know they won't win is wild.
Yes, there are an awful lot of Republicans discovering all of a sudden that they need to spend more time with their families.
Scott, do you think that's sorry for the background noise. Let me go in my room. Do you think that's because they're too I'm on TikTok, filter yourself. Chicken to just come out and say, "Hey, we don't agree with everything that this that this person is doing, so we're just not going to run? Do you think that's why it's all of a sudden they got to spend so much time with their family?
No, I think it's precisely what Mike said. They think they're going to lose, so they're not running.
So here's the thing, and I've been saying this before. In the grand scheme of things, we, the voting public, are the reason that we got here. Maybe not the people that are watching right here, but we, the electorate, as a whole, are the reason we got here. Why do I say that? How you see people run is based on what they have been taught they need to do to win. So if just saying what they want to hear and then getting in office and not doing any of it isn't like, if they know that all they have to do is when they run for office, say what people want to hear, no one will follow up. No one will hold them accountable. It doesn't matter what they do in office. All they have to do is say what people want to hear. That's what has worked for the last far too long.
Yeah, I want to amend my answer to Kia. While I think it's primarily what Mike said is that they think they're going to lose, there have been a number of Republicans who have decided not to run because they knew that they could no longer work with Donald Trump.
That's true.
I'm thinking of Mark Sanford. I'm thinking of Jeff Flake in the Senate. I'm thinking of the retirement now of Tom Tillis in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of others. So there is part of that, Kia. There is. I shouldn't have made such a blanket statement. And the other thing that we have a problem with Congress is, vis-a-vis it's our fault. Look, what percentage of people show up for a special election? In between 25 and 30%. That's it. What percentage of people show up for a midterms? Folks, it's usually only around half. And we have the consummate gall in this country to pat ourselves on the back in a presidential election anytime we crack 60% of the electorate showing up.
I know. It's
now,
crazy.
frankly, folks, that kind of turnout sucks. It absolutely sucks. Germany had a snap election, and they had 81% show up. 81. We pat ourselves on the back anytime we crack 60. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And again, what politicians do when they run for office is based on what they have been taught works for winning. Now, again, I think you see a lot of people dropping out because they see the writing on the wall, which is why you're seeing a lot of people doing things differently. This is why you see a lot of people running for office that are saying, we want to be held accountable. We want transparency. And this is what we're going to do. We want to help our communities. The amount of people running for office that are half of what they're doing when they're running is community work is mind-boggling. It's amazing, but it's different. And that's why, I think you see people dropping out because they know that the status quo when it comes to running for office and being in office is no longer going to be. Now, will it work everywhere? No, probably not. Will it take time even to fix it? Absolutely. It takes time. We're stubborn people. Human beings as a whole are pretty dang stubborn, and it takes time to change things like how things work.
Podcast makes a very interesting statement in chat. He says, people have been convinced their vote doesn't count. I think that's true to some degree, but I think that's more of an excuse that people use. Quite frankly, they're just too damn disengaged and too damn lazy to vote. I'm not going to give them that excuse that, oh, well, my vote doesn't count anyway, so I don't have to vote. I think that's just the excuse that most people use. I don't think that's the real reason. I think the real reason is they're just too lazy and they're just too disengaged. They
Yeah.
don't care. They just don't want to admit that they don't care.
I would definitely agree with that. I think that is just a easy, lazy excuse. I also think that, you know, to really want to make change like this, we have to understand, like Mike said, that it's going to take time. Our society is not a patient society. We want immediate change. We want immediate gratification. Things like this take decades and generations to change. And you have to be willing to attack it on so many different levels. You know, to me, I always think of the amount or the percentage of our population that is functionally illiterate. The idea that, you know, just for a simple example, going into the voting booth and having to try to vote on an amendment, like a state amendment that is purposefully written so that people cannot understand it. It's discouraging. It's discouraging to me, who is extremely well read. And I can't even imagine what an average citizen, let alone a person who is functionally illiterate, feels like when they're in the voting booth.
And Philip, yeah, I agree. And I think part of the problem is we've also been taught that that we can separate our lives and politics. I cannot count how many times, even I used to say, I don't do politics. I don't do politics, because we've been taught that it's possible to separate politics from our lives, when the fact is everything in our lives, everything. Oh my Lord, Dwayne, fuck you, goodbye. Everything in our lives is politics. If our ability to not, you know, the stuff that we do, not everything, no, literally everything, absolutely everything that we do in our lives are affected by politics. And if you think it's not everything, you are part of the problem.
Name something.
Absolutely everything. There is not one aspect of your life that is not affected in one way, shape, or form by the politics of this country and the politics of the world. Not one thing.
And that brings an important reminder that your local elections are so important. You know, so much of our local elections are things like passing levies for your local volunteer firehouse, for, you know, maintaining parks, for access to bus lines or your public schools, what they're going to teach, how they're going to teach, how they're going to be funded. There is so much importance in your local elections as well.
Jamie, how do we vote out light Dems? Primaries. Someone's got to be primarying them. That's different. And you gotta, oh my Lord, what the fudge nugget? Primaries. It's all about the primaries. If you have someone who is doing things in a way you don't want, and there's someone else who wants to do something different, you got to get involved in the primaries. I keep saying this. The reason that the Democratic Party is like it is because too many people who are more progressive either don't run at all, aren't involved at all, or they run third party, which isn't going to work, or the people that want change don't vote for the more progressives that run in the elections. You want to know why MAGA took over? Because people got out and voted for them and changed the party. Need someone to primary
I-
Cory Booker? If you feel that way, find someone to primary him and support them. Again, if the choice is between Cory Booker and MAGA, no matter how much I disagree with things that Cory Booker has done and said, I'm going to vote for friggin' Cory Booker if he's the other choice. And the fact that anyone would consider otherwise or not voting because Cory Booker does and says things that you don't like, welcome to the real world, people. Everyone, even the people I have supported most in my entire life, are going to do and say things that I disagree with. If there is no other option, if there is no better option, I'm going to take the best of the two options. And Cory Booker is going to be better than someone is running against Cory Booker. Great. Hopefully we'll hear about him because I haven't heard nothing.
Can I say, like going back to what you guys were talking about before, I kind of like agree. I don't want to say disagree, but I think more to what Scott's reply that is simply being lazy, I think is doing a disservice to the people who are actively being like them being able to vote and vote easily is as actively under attack right now. And I understand why people say they feel disenfranchised and they feel like their vote won't matter when their states and their governments the governments in some of these states are actively basically saying like, we are going to try to screw you out of your vote mattering. I do get it. I do think that, I hate the word lazy. God, I hate that word lazy. I do think, we need to make sure that we keep the excuses to a minimum about how we vote. If you, I know some states are now starting, I know WRAL has been talking about North Carolina. They're already starting to get stuff together for mail-in ballots and that kind of stuff. But I think it is. I think people's voting, what's happening in the vote and the government, I'm trying to be careful. What's happening in the government right now, they are actively trying to disengage people from voting. And I understand why people do feel like that. I just, however, hope that that doesn't keep them from voting.
Melatonin.
And oh, sorry.
You're making two separate statements. That your statement has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. And by the way, you're saying that TikTok people have their brains rotted by low IQ political takes. Is going to get you kicked, so watch it. My personal politics are influenced by a lot of things, not just my philosophy, my interaction with the world, my experiences, a bunch of different things. I'm not talking about my personal politics. I'm saying that politics, the people that are in office, every single one of them, and the decisions they make, whether we're talking local, state, or federal, affect every part of my life.
I'd like to jump in here just for a second. I think I know what Melatonin was getting at, and I would agree with Melatonin. One of the advantages of this space is that we discuss issues in depth. We discuss them in depth. We talk about them. Most of the time, we don't draw a firm conclusion because issues are complex and you can't draw a firm conclusion in 30 seconds. The problem I have with TikTok is increasingly the number of Americans who get all of their news and information off of this app and other social media to the exclusion of everything else is very disheartening. You aren't going to, don't get your news off TikTok. Just don't. Because these people, you don't know who's giving you the news, and you cannot cover a complex issue in a 1-minute video. You can't do it. Can't be done. And that, I think, is what Melatonin is getting at. And that's the good thing that I like about you. And I'm not kissing your ass here, Mike, but these are more in-depth discussions, and we don't pretend to give you all the answers, but we do give you a path so that you can find out things for yourself. And I think that's what's more of this is what's needed, as opposed to everything being black and white. TikTok loves to make everything black and white. The world is not black and white, folks. The world is gray. It is nuanced. And that is why you must use caution, not just with TikTok, but with any social media, which tends to reward black and white, rage baiting and easy answers, because there aren't easy answers to most questions.
Scott, I would caveat your statement to an extent. I agree, but I would caveat in the sense of no one should take what they hear from any news, whether it is TikTok or CBS, NBC, any of them, straight up as the fact right off the bat. 1 minute is not enough to get, I agree, 1 minute video is not enough to get all of the facts. 100% agree. But I would argue that there is an extreme lack of trust, and even more now with who, as we have talked about many times, who has acquisitioned many of these mainstream media outlets to the point where there is an extreme lack of trust. Now, should they go from not trusting one group to fully trusting the other group? No, I don't think there should be straight up trust of anybody, because the fact is it's people on TikTok have the exact same ability to lie or read things differently and say things that are true that aren't, as a mainstream media company does. We need to get back to not just believing everything that is told us and learning to start doing our research ourselves.
Yeah, I have no argument with anything that you said.
Yeah, and I didn't think
there's a difference in the professionalism of somebody who's publishing an article in the New York Times than there is in something that is on TikTok, because you have to verify your sources on the New York Times. You have to verify them. They have to be double and triple verified before that will ever be printed. On TikTok, as we see constantly, ridiculous conspiracy theories spread like wildfire. And not just here, on other social media, especially garbage sites like X. And that's why that was the only point that I was making.
I understand that. But again, when you've got people like Barry Weiss and what's going on in CBS, you're getting a lot of people. It's hard not to see that and potentially push it on other people. And I think part of the problem is that we're getting from the media side of the major media side of things. Let's put it that way. Is there does not feel like there is enough pushback from people
media
in those groups, from people in those groups.
Agreed.
And I think that has caused more people to distrust all of them. Just like you get distrust in the Democratic Party when Democratic politicians don't push back on something that they should. It is an unfortunate reality that the good ones can be put into the same bucket, even though they're trying to do it right, depending on how the group as a whole responds. So,
as with any source of media, everything is just a tool. It's a tool that you have to understand how to use appropriately, and you have to be willing to look at the source that it's coming from. Like Scott said, yes, a lot of the mainstream media aspects and professional journalism, they have certain standards that they uphold. But you also have to be wary about when you're just looking at a name like New York Times. Is it New York Times or is it New York Times opinion piece? Because people often can get confused with the source or the source writer. It's very important to understand where these things are coming from. And if something doesn't seem right, use your intuition and try to find it from somewhere else. There's been many times when mainstream media has even been wrong, but TikTok has given us also a way to communicate and spread information that we may not have been able to see because of the access that everybody has with a phone now.
And Doug, I would argue the problem is that most people, a vast majority, and when I say vast majority, I would say in the close to 90%, do not do their own research to find the truth. They take a headline and decide that is the truth. That is the problem. That, again, That is also the problem. It still also comes down to accountability. It still comes down to accountability. We don't hold anybody accountable. We don't hold other people accountable for putting out bullshit statements. We don't hold each other accountable when we fall for bullshit statements. We never
Easy.
do it.
M'Baku.
Hey, Aaron, has anyone heard of Freedom
Sorry.
Fellowship? I have not.
And M'Baku?
Yeah.
What the hell is an M'Baku?
Hang on, Scott. I'll show you what an M'Baku is.
I thought you were talking to M'Baku in chat. Must have pissed Kia off. M'Baku.
Oh, he just went under the bed. I was going to say that is an M'Baku.
Oh, you have somebody from chat in your bedroom?
No, kitties. The
Yeah,
kitty.
I know.
Oh.
I know. I'm teasing Kia.
Yeah, I'm sorry because I was trying to pull in the chat from the other side because, man, the comments there's a lot of comments, and I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes when we get wrapped up in our conversation over here, just in case you guys didn't know, we are also simultaneously streaming on the Tube of You. You don't have as many filters over there. You get to have a lot more in-depth conversation, and I'm sorry, I think we just kind of forgotten them all.
Mr. Wade, that statement is a nice crying by you. Goodbye. Again, it's not.
What
it's
a mirage
not.
statement.
If you come in here and you say that one side is the problem, you don't get to talk anymore. I'm going to say that straight up. If you come on and you say that one side, all of what we're dealing with is because specifically of one group of people and with that put a D next to their name or even an R next to their name. You just don't get to you can listen, but you won't get to participate because we're talking hundreds of years, dozens of years that have gotten us to this point, and everybody has some level of both sides, and we're talking political sides. The American people as a whole. Now, does everyone have the same level? No, of course not.
You know, I still, to me, like at the core of what people are saying with philosophy and politics, you know, like it is strongly tied to how you view the world. And to me, at my core, I am looking for political leaders who want to make sure that our most basic needs are met for all people. So, you know, I live in West Virginia, and they just started their state congressional session. And the bills that have been put on the floor are so wild and ridiculous. I mean, we have every single session they keep bringing up an AB bill, and now it's already banned in our state for basically every level except for instances of the R word and incest. And now they put a bill on the floor again to try to ban that as well. So there would literally be nothing that you could do except for in what they consider as the life of the mother. That's it. And to me, I'm like, what are we doing? Because there are 16,000 school children in our state that are currently homeless. There are 14% of our entire population that does not have access to clean water. I mean, there are so many things that we could be doing to make sure that, you know, if you want to help our children, that they have a home, that they have water, that they have food, because we are not meeting those needs. And what political party is putting forth things to try to fix those problems?
Kia, you had some questions from the other side?
Yeah, hang on. I'm sorry. I was trying to dislodge a kitten from my foot. He was hanging on to the bottom of my sock.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
They are like wide open. Hang on. Give me just a second. I'm sorry. Hang on.
Something I saw that I wanted to make sure.
It's I'm sorry. It's more like comments. I haven't seen any questions, honestly.
Yeah.
I
mean, I'm reading everything. I might not read it out loud, but I don't read every comment that's made out loud. So know that I'm reading all of them.
Okay, the only reason I brought it up is I thought I misinterpreted you. I thought you said you had some questions from the other side.
I don't know. There's so many comments. I'm kind of just like going through it. I just know they don't like to feel like they're neglected.
That was what I wanted to mention. Silver mentioned it too. So having the trifecta, this administration has shown that having the trifecta doesn't mean you can actually get things done, because again, the D or the R next to your name should not mean you vote for everything that happens. It shouldn't. And this is someone that wants stuff to finally get done. It should not. Trifecta does not mean it. There's a reason that the president of the United States is leading almost 99% of this country by executive order, because they have the trifecta. And you know what they can't get done? Anything. Trifecta does not mean gets done. Communication, good communication, having hard conversations, and the American people holding them accountable when they do nothing is how you get them to do something.
As with the Republicans currently in Congress, also with Democrats in the past, there are still many different types of Democrats. I can think of the perfect example from my own state, West Virginia. We had Governor Manchin, Senator Manchin. And, Arizona, they had a senator that was more, I guess you would consider them center. They went against a lot of what progressives wanted. They were the stronghold in a lot of what the Democrats wanted to get done. And when you look, I would encourage you to really look back at different Congress and when Democrats truly held power versus when Republicans truly had power, and look at what bills that they got passed. What were the major things that they passed? Obama was able to get coverage for tens of millions of people on healthcare with a trifecta. And I don't even remember if it was a true trifecta, but with Biden and the congressional administration that they had, they also were able to get things passed like the CHIPS and Science Act, like the American Rescue Plan. There were several huge things that they passed that they were able to get done that truly did benefit Americans. Whether people on the right actually want to think that it did, it really did. I mean, you had Republicans in very strong red states and red district areas that were touting the money that they received from the Infrastructure Act, and that they specifically voted against, and then they were touting it.
Over 70% of the money from the Infrastructure Act went to red states. And you're quite right. The same representatives who voted against it were then touting to their constituents, look at how much money I brought in to the district. It was actually pretty funny.
And now look at what this current administration is doing. Is it truly helping the average American? Is it truly, like, they could be doing so much? Are they helping the homelessness crisis? Are they helping with the cost of healthcare crisis? Are they helping with the educational crisis? Like, what are they actually getting done, and what are their priorities?
And I will tell you, as someone who lives in very rural North Carolina in a town with 3 stoplights and 2,000 people, the infrastructure bill, thanks Biden, we didn't have high-speed Wi-Fi. where I lived at. Like, and there's still places. Luckily, I live off like one of the main roads once you get off of town, quote unquote main roads, that has more farmland than it has people. But we did not have high-speed Wi-Fi out here. Like, I mean, when I tell you guys, like that quickest access we had was like 40. And that was, you had to pay almost like $100 for 40 megs. Could you imagine having to pay almost $100 for 40 megs? It it really helped a lot of people, and that's the thing. A lot of this stuff, I don't think people understand. I think people should be taught, like, when you talk about civics, there needs to be more than just how the government works. Like, what does that actually mean when the government does things that help you? You may not actually see flashy stuff somewhere. A lot of it is going to be stuff that you don't see, but you actively use on a regular basis. The bridges, the roads, the Wi-Fi. You know how many kids out here during C-19, I'm so thankful the school was giving out hotspots, because there were so many kids that did not have access to internet fast enough to run their laptops to do their schoolwork.
Oh, during the C-19 era, West Virginia as a state had to close school down months earlier than any other state in the entire United States because they realized so many of their kids didn't have access to internet. They literally shut school down, like the entire end of school, I think 2 months early. And I also, Kia, got internet access. I have like 15 megabytes, and the Infrastructure Act actually got us, extremely fast Wi-Fi. We got fiber in our town.
We didn't get fiber, but we got high speed, and I've got a 1,000 or a gig or whatever it is now, and that was even better. So like Mike talks about fiber, and I'm like, I'm jealous, but hey, I'm excited for, and I don't think people understand that stuff. I remember the last time I went to Pittsburgh. I haven't been since my father passed away, but I remember driving underneath. If you've never been to bridges, there's a shit ton of bridges all through Pittsburgh connecting the different areas together. And I mean, just going to one place, I crossed over 4 different bridges, and you would drive under some of them and you'd see all this netting and stuff. And I remember asking my pops, like, why is all that netting and stuff? And he's like, because the bridges are crumbling. The bridges are falling apart. Could you even imagine, like, fathom, like, I remember sitting at this light, and all I could do after he told me that is sit up there, and I'm like, how is that netting going to stop that bridge from falling down? I don't think people understand, like, you can't just build the shit and then never fix it.
And again, is this to say that Democrats are perfect? Of course they're not. Look at New York City. If you walk around New York City, there's a reason that you walk under all of these, like a ton of walkways are just covered walkways. Because scaffolding, because they tried to put something in place to encourage companies and building owners to fix. But what they ended up doing was making them realize that it's cheaper for them to put scaffolding to protect the people walking from falling debris than it was to actually fix the problems. So again, it's not a Democrat-Republican thing. It's an accountability thing. If you want stuff to change, then when people don't do things that help, and when you say this isn't helping and all they do is nothing, then hold them accountable.
Yeah, and hopefully we will. I mean, turnout has been rising slowly. Let's keep up the good work and just keep voting. Just keep voting, and vote in your local elections, vote in your school board elections, vote up and down the ballot, and definitely vote in your primaries. In November, you only have two choices. But in your primary, you're bound to find somebody that matches your own political perspective. So make sure you vote in the primaries. Most people do not. What's the average for a primary vote? 15%, something like that? It's terrible.
Like 20%.
Yeah, it's a terrible turnout.
Yeah, we have a perfect example of a local school board here in West Virginia. One of our counties is in absolute crisis mode. They are looking at not being able to afford to pay their teachers. And they're asking the state to step in and provide emergency funding for them. Of course, I could get on about, that part of that reason. As of right now, we are technically unsure about why they have such a massive funding issue. They currently have an independent investigation going on with their books. So whether it was mismanagement of funding, corruption, or a lack of appropriate funding from the state because of this Hope Scholarship that they passed, where they are directing tax money from public schools to private schools. I have a feeling it's probably a combination of all those things.
And again, this is why we're doing what we're doing. So for those of you that happen to be new here, just so you know, I am trying to interview as many people, progressives especially, but technically I just care that you care about people. Progressive is somewhat subjective. So want people that want to be held accountable, have government be held accountable, to make real changes and not just keep the status quo. That is what I'm trying to interview. Which is why, so if you are interested in learning about these candidates, please follow me over on the tube, because I've interviewed many and I'm going to be interviewing many, many more. Some amazing candidates that are running for office that want to actually fix the problems, that want to be held accountable, that want the kind of change that we've been talking about, but it won't help unless they get through the primaries. And the way some of these people in some of these not massive districts get through the primaries is by name recognition. And the way name recognition happens is if things like these interviews that I'm doing, and if they do with others and the stuff they put out, if those get pushed out, because they don't have millions upon millions of dollars like some of these big campaigns do. They need these interviews with podcasts like ours. They need their social media to go out to get that kind of name recognition. So I know sometimes it feels annoying, especially if you're watching a video of someone who's in a district that's not yours. But I'll say this again. Do you want to fix the problem, or do you want to complain about the problem not being fixed? It is going to take work by all of us to fix the problem. Because I guarantee you, I am not making much of anything from what I'm doing. And I had 3 interviews in one day, and I have to edit them, and I have to get them out, and I have to post them everywhere. And I have 2 other people that are helping me contact everyone, because you got to understand, there are thousands of people running for office.
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Kiva says something on the other side. In Silver, they're talking about, the coal and stuff like that. Talking about it's never coming back, move on. And Kiva said that, we spend some time and money. So we have to spend money. You have to invest to make more money and to make things last and be better. I don't understand. That's why, it always drove me insane when people would say fiscally responsible. It's like you have to spend the money to make it better. Shit does not get fixed on its own. It does not stay maintained on its own for free with thin air and hopes and wishes. And Kiva suggested that, we spend some money giving them some kind of trainers, to do something else. I think that's a really good point.
Give who trainers?
The coal workers and miners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
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 I mean, that's a very common thing. If this is, again, we say we want things, the problem is not always that we don't know what needs to be done. It's we don't even put in the work to figure out how we get to it, because you're right. The idea of just going, we're getting rid of an entire thing when we know that there are people that work in those industries. Well, we can easily put forth a plan where we say, okay, if you are working in the coal industry, we will help you get the train. We will pay to get you the training that you need so you can work in this new opportunity, this new industry, or give them options of industries that are in their area that will help. It's like, guys, it's not none of
this.
When Secretary Clinton was running against Donald Trump in 2016, she brought up the specific issue about coal and said, look, it's a dying industry and we have to retrain you. And Trump said, no, we're going to make coal great again and we're going to open up, all these new coal mines. And Trump got most of their votes. Bottom line, flash forward to today, more coal mines have closed under his administration than any other, and there hasn't been any retraining for them.
Yeah.
So
This has been a huge issue in West Virginia. The unions have also been, losing membership. They used to be Democrat strongholds decades and decades ago, generations ago, really. And with a state like West Virginia, there's so many issues with how coal and coal barons and coal companies came in and took advantage of a people who had nothing. And they forcefully gave them nothing. They destroyed other industries that were very strong in the state to dominate the skill force labor here. We have to start looking at people who are willing to try to go into these communities on a local level as well and offer them other options. You can't just say, well, coal's not, it's not going to survive, which it isn't. It's been awful for our state. There, in no aspect of it has been good, in my opinion. But to talk about investing in avenues of green energy, there are a lot of skills that these people have who can be utilized into tech for green energy and good quality paying jobs in their area. I don't know. It's so hard because so many of these areas literally have nothing left, but they have the space. They have the land, they have the opportunities to bring things like this in, especially when I talk about solar panels and usage in West Virginia, we have so many areas of strip mined land that is not usable. It can't be used for agriculture. There's too many heavy metals in the soil. There's too much pollution. There's really nothing that can grow on it. You can't do anything with it. You can't build, anything on it. You can't build schools or roads, but you could build solar panels.
yeah, and that is exactly what we tried to do under Biden, and Trump has stopped the money flowing for it. And again, 70% of that money went into red states. 70% of the alternative energy money went into red states, which would have been a help not just to West Virginia, but to the other amount of displaced coal miners. And how many people are still left mining coal in the United States? Not just West Virginia, the whole country. There's only 40,000 people left in that industry. That's it. That's the total number of coal miners in the United States. That's it. And the others, their lives have, basically been ruined because they didn't get retraining. And these high-paying jobs and alternative energy sources that Trump has now cut out, he's cut off all funding for it. And that's been devastating. We're building a huge EV battery plant factory. That got stopped. The biggest one in the world we're building. That got stopped.
Yeah, they're talking about, there was a funding package for the Appalachian states, about $500 million to go to cleaning the waterways that these mines have polluted. And they're talking about removing that.
I'll say, I had in the background did online schooling, and I got certification in clinical research. And yeah, I was even struggling before he took office to try to find a job in that field, because a lot of places want you to have some kind of experience before you come in. I can't stand that shit, even entry level. But then I went and I looked after there's no jobs left in that at all. And that was a high paying field. And I mean, even doing data entry, you can make really decent money for that. And it's just insane and scary to know, not even the rest of the world, in the US, how do these businesses and these companies and all these CEOs just keep, I don't understand.
Well, coal's easy to understand. It's dirty and it's not economical, so it's a dying industry.
I wasn't talking about coal. I think
okay.
coal, I'm sorry. I'm doing a million things at one time. Sorry, my brain is squirreling left and right. But coal,
no worries.
I agree though, Scott. Coal is definitely, that's something. And I do think though, while I do agree we should be done with coal completely 100%, it needs to go. At the same point in time, when for that area, that was the only thing they had, the only way to make a living, absolutely some money and stuff should be spent. And what Books is saying, put those solar farms up. We had those in some space where they did a bunch of clearing and stuff down the street from the school. That land wasn't usable. Now it's a solar farm. And that's the thing. If the land's already cleared, it can't be used for other things. Why don't we do stuff and teach the people how to install them? Teach them how to give them jobs in other industries.
We were. The money was appropriated for it. We were. That's exactly what we're doing. The biggest investment in alternative energy in American history. And Trump ended it. And the hilarious part is, and I'm not against fossil fuels at all. I'm not against them because we need them. We have a shortage of electricity in this country. That's why prices are climbing so rapidly. And AI is going to force them to climb even more. We need all forms of energy production. And I cannot for the life of me understand why we're trying to put the kibosh on on solar and wind power when we need every kilowatt that we can get. I'm not saying, end all oil production or natural gas. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, A, it's going to be the future anyway, and B, let's get going on it because we need to squeeze out every kilowatt that we can get. This is nonsensical what he's doing. He's talking about building more factories here. Well, what are they going to run on? We already have a shortage of energy in this country.
I mean, and to an extent,
sorry.
To an extent, Bonnie said it. What I've been thinking. Let's just not just give tax breaks. Let's just put solar panels on people's houses. We got so many houses. Just put some solar panels on it.
This is what we're talking about looking towards the future, about being patient, and you have to spend money to make money. So much of Republicans' idea of fiscal responsibility is things have to generate money almost immediately. And as we're learning from projects that we have done, but also, a great example is looking at what China has done with their investment in energy production. This past year was the first year that they had a reduction in coal emissions ever in decades and decades and decades. They're rapidly investing in alternative energy resources. And yes, it has taken a long time and a lot of investment, but they are finally starting to see the massive benefits of it. And now the United States has an administration that is stopping the largest expansion and investment that we have seen.
Yeah, it's nonsensical and it's hurting us. And I talked about it last week. Keep your eye, and everybody knows that the issue is going to be affordability in the midterms. And quite frankly, here's a hint: the issue is going to be affordability in the presidential race of 2028 as well. It's not going to change. It's going to be about the economy. That's it. And we are the sleeper issue that is going to come up and bite a lot of people in the ass: utility bills, people's natural gas bills, and people's electric bills. They are climbing exponentially, and people are in shock about that. And we saw that in the election in New Jersey that just took place. That was jumped out of nowhere to tie, in terms of important issues, property taxes, which is always the number one issue in New Jersey, and utility bills climbed right up there with that. So that's going to be an issue, and I think the Republicans are committing political suicide by their attacks on solar and wind power. I think they're absolutely committing political suicide because people are going crazy about what's happening to their utility bills.
America is beautiful. False. Utility bills are going up literally in every single state.
The utility bills in West Virginia are the highest in the country. I would just like to point that out. They just requested a 40% increase in our gas, and they were approved 22%. And in the last 5 years, every single year but one, we have had a double-digit increase.
And I want to point out, I saw Mr. Global, the Department of Energy said that, I think they said in 2026, you're going to see people are going to save $11 billion or something in gas prices or something like that. And then he's like, yeah, but America's going to be spending over $60 billion more in electricity and heating in the next year. So that's still we're still, you maybe spend a little bit less on gas for your car, but you're going to be spending so much more on everything else.
Yeah, people are bringing up excellent points about data centers. I'm not necessarily against data centers. I am against not regulating data centers. Sure. There are very obvious things that, like pollution issues that have gone on with data centers, going against people's wishes about where it's placed, having no regulation or infrastructure with power, and what it's going to do to rising costs for the public. And the Republican administration is specifically trying to install laws that prevent regulations from happening. How is that helping the American people?
And I also want to point out that the EPA has changed their rules in the sense of they have now decided that they don't need to, when deciding what regulations to put in, how many people might lose their, like, the lives of the people that it will affect is not something they need to care about anymore. I want you to understand that the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, is no longer using the effect on the lives of human beings, on Americans, as a way to gauge whether or not a regulation should happen or not, or should exist or not, current or future.
This is why I kind of go back to what I had said to you that day after I watched that interview with, I think, the young lady from Jersey that was talking about the first thing she would do would be get rid of Citizens United. This is one of those things when I was talking about why at first I was like, and I heard your answer, and then the more I thought about it while I was driving, I was like, you know what? I think she's right, because who are these people who are benefiting from all of this lack of regulation and all that other stuff?
Smart. Truth is out there. Your parents' energy prices did not go up because of a smart meter. New Jersey's energy prices went up because New Jersey's energy prices went up, as there is someone in this panel who lives in New Jersey can tell you.
Yeah, but mine seemed to go up the day I got the smart meter. But you're right. They went up because both in last June, there was a bump of 20% across the board on electric, and the year before, 20% across the board on gas. And they are both going up again in 2 months, both gas and electric. Now, Mikey Sherrill said she would try and stop that, and that'll be her first challenge. And, look, folks, this is going to become a big political issue. It wasn't all that long ago for all of us. Gas and electric bill was, it was an annoyance, but we paid it. We didn't give it much mind. Now, we're talking real money. I mean, it costs a lot to heat a home in the Northeast during the winter. And if you live in the Northeast, you don't need me to tell you that. And if you have electric in the South, it costs you a hell of a, which everybody has, it costs you a hell of a lot to cool your home in the summer. I don't have to tell you that. You know it. And ask yourselves, and I don't care what part of the country you live in. Somebody said the rates are only going up in the blue states. That's utterly ridiculous. They're going up nationwide. And just like Mr. Global said, 60 billion more. Now, for us, that's a $60 billion tax that we're going to have to pay each year. And it's going to keep going up. And for us to sit there and stop what wind projects and solar projects that were near completion, which is what the president did a month ago, that would have been online this month, easing that crisis is nonsensical. And that's frankly, it's going to hurt his own party.
And I will also point out the Department of Transportation is no longer pushing for car companies to increase gas mileage to 60 miles per gallon and actually keep it down at 35 miles per gallon, which they have said will save $1,000 on the cost of your car. $1,000. You can make up $1,000 in the cost of the gasoline that you will be spending by losing the gas mileage way before. Like, you'll be spending more on gas than you saved on the car. What's up, FSO?
I will say, Scott, question, because down here in North Carolina, whenever the energy company, whenever Duke does some kind of update or whatever, our bills go up. We basically end up paying for it. Just like there was this whole thing when Duke was ordered to pay some money for something, and they're like, hey, we're basically going to raise your rates to pay for this money we got to put out. Did your rates increase with the smart meters because you guys had to basically pay for that?
They may have, because our energy works the same way that yours does. The energy is put out for auction from the big energy producers, and then the local power companies buy their energy at the auction. It's always more expensive, and they pass that on to you. And if there are infrastructure projects done, which after we had Hurricane Sandy up here, all the power companies, did a lot of very necessary, it had to be done, did a lot of necessary infrastructure work so that so many people would not be knocked out by a bad storm again. Well, it was nice that they did it, but we had to pay for it. It was added to our bills.
Cynthia, we've been talking for 2 hours now. We're talking about a lot of different things. I'm not sure how long you've been here, but we have talked about a lot of different things. And when you say there, I'm not sure who you mean by there.
And see, Scott, like down here, I don't know if it's the same there. Like here, like I actually get and it depends. The town next to us, they don't buy their power direct. They actually, it's kind of like what you're talking about. They buy it kind of like third party. The town where I go to church in, the light bills are usually almost as much, if not more, than people's electricity bills. That's why people can't afford to pay for it, because they buy from the major lighting company. I actually get mine directly from Duke. I'm not on one of the, so there's an increase, especially if you live in the smaller towns around here. Like luckily where I am on Duke, so I don't have to pay that extra amount. But like there are some of the other smaller towns that are around here, they do pay more directly.
Yeah, we're given a choice too. You don't have to buy your energy from Jersey Central Power and Light. You can buy it, but that's just the deliverer of your energy. It's still bought in bulk and then transferred to the state. JCP&L has most of the customers, at least in my area. However, they do allow you to choose a third-party vendor to deliver your electricity. They claim you'll save a few cents, if you do that. I haven't seen those savings, so I buy mine also from the big provider.
But we don't have that option. It's just you basically where your address is, they tell you who's your provider and you pay, and that's it. You don't get an option. So like when you live in the town of Selma buys their energy from Duke. Where I am, it's Duke Progress. On my side of the state, it's Duke Progress. They buy their power from that, and then they charge, because of the fact they're the deliverers, and they push the extra switches, they pay. But the one thing they do allow you to do, because it's so bad in Selma, like they will cut your light off. If you don't pay by the time it's due, the day it's due, they turn your lights off. They have allowed people to kind of allow the same thing. They'll allow you to pay for your power daily. But do you know how expensive that is? And these companies are just like, it's crazy to see that they have to charge us more because they've got to pay for all these updates, yet their profits just keep going up. Isn't that insane?
What a surprise, huh?
Right?
But the bottom line is this is quickly becoming a major political issue. This is the sleeper issue of, I think, the midterms and the election of 2028, something that people didn't see coming 10 years ago. Well, it's coming now. It's going to become a major political issue. So candidates can either make hay on this or candidates can get buried on this.
We did the 13 colonies did not revolt against Britain because of a tax. I wanted that to be clear. The tax was the final straw. There's a lot of people that think that this was just like this happened and we did it. I understand you're simplifying, but you need to we all need to realize that to get to a point of doing something like what happened at the start of this country, you don't like it's people have to feel like the alternative is no worse than what they are currently experiencing to go that far. Because we know what that ends up being, which is why I think it's hilarious when people are like, oh, Walls should just activate the National Guard and they could end this right now. That you're asking for something that involves the potential loss. Like you're asking for everyone to say that losing my life is not worse than what I'm experiencing right now. We may know, like, I can't speak for anybody. It doesn't matter who knows. For me, I'm willing to do what I do because I think it's super important. And I think it's what's needed for the future of this country. But I can't, he did not activate the National Guard. He Not in the way that people are talking about him activating the National Guard, by the way. They're talking about him activating the National Guard to get rid of ICE from Minnesota. Those are videos that I have seen. Anyways, it was years of stuff going on in the colonies before what happened to start it, to start the Revolutionary War happened. They tried, the people in charge of the colonies tried again and again and again and again and again and again to get things fixed. And it took it getting to a point where they felt this was the only choice.
Well, look, there are a lot of reasons for the American Revolution, and one of them was no taxation without representation. We did not have representation in the British Parliament, which gave the British citizens a bit of a laugh because the tax burden on the American 13 colonies was actually significantly lower than the tax burden on the average British citizen. So they didn't quite understand what we were getting at. But, look, we were 13 colonies, especially in that time of the world, very far distanced, much larger than Great Britain, very far distance. And there was a little bit of, we should be on our own. We don't, you have to remember that this country, the settlers who came over here were escaping Europe, so they had no great love for Europe to begin with. And that was imbued in generations of American people by the time 1776 came around.
People wouldn't even boycott. Again, just because you are there doesn't mean other people are there. And I understand the frustration. I've been trying to convince people of a lot of things that that I see is important. But we can't convince them. Only they can convince themselves. And if we just bash everyone for not seeing something that we see, you're not going to convince them of anything. They close their eyes. No, it's not always just closing their eyes. Do you think it's not frightening? How do people act when they get scared? You think that's normal? I mean, we're seeing exactly what people do. Of course, it's frightening. Yeah. And when people get scared, they pull back. They pull away. They put their head in the sand. That is a very common reaction. We have to do something now. You say that, but unless other people believe it, you're speaking to the wind. You coming in and saying we have to do something now when literally tens of millions of people aren't there yet. I am for 6 years, but you're coming in here and saying everything's over. It's all done. Why aren't you waking up? That's not what we're doing here. That's not the point of what we're doing here. The point of what we're doing here is talking about the realities of what we're living in. I'm okay with that. Talk about the realities of what we're living in.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of this anarchy kind of like burn it down to restart everything. I don't believe in that because I know that it hurts people. We are seeing movements. We are seeing shifts, and we can make a difference. And I think we are making a difference in getting younger people more active, getting people more interested, just having the ability to get on here and talk with each other. That's making a huge difference in everyday people's lives. And people will get out to the polls, but we have to not only vote for, people who are wanting to make a difference from the ground up, we have to also establish policies like we were talking about earlier, which makes it easier for people to get to the polls and vote.
And
Look, the whole idea of discussion is to get you to think for yourself, draw your own conclusions. That's all this channel can do. And more importantly, that's all it should do. We don't ever want to get to a point where we're telling people they have to think like us. We're giving you facts. We're giving you rational discussion. It's then your job to draw conclusions, whatever conclusions you may draw. And that's the way it should be. We don't want to become a cult like MAGA either, where everybody has to toe the purity line. We don't want that. That's just as bad.
And I understand the frustration of screaming about it for 7 years and seeing it happen. We've been screaming about it for years too. All of them are saying we stole it and we will be going to... Okay, you're right. They are saying it. Yep. They're absolutely saying it. Yep. You're right. People did say that. Yep. Changes nothing. Just like Germany. Not just like Germany. Not just like Germany.
That's a very tenuous relationship between us and Weimar Germany before the rise of Adolf and his gang. There's a lot of differences.
Plenty of people listened. 70+ million people voted against this current administration. So don't say no one listened. Not enough. Well, that's our fault.
Yeah, it's our fault because the number one thing that people are worried about is being able to afford to live, being able to have a decent, okay, comfortable life. And that's where we did not hit with the American public. And I mean, there's a lot of things, but I think that's the largest reason.
And you're right. Complaining on the net won't save us.
Well,
But
yeah,
talking on the net has the potential to save us.
Yes, Cynthia, I understand the problems that you're raising, but they seem to be open-ended comments as opposed to offering any solutions.
Cynthia, they're cutting our legs off one at a time, and you're speaking of elections. How do you expect us to fix the problem that we're in that has the potential of saving the most lives possible? What is your solution to this problem? Quit our jobs like Rome did.
Oh, good Lord.
I mean, you can quit your job if you want to quit your job. I got 2 kids I gotta feed.
And look, I did. Well,
okay, good for you.
Did
that help?
Look.
Are they the same kind of people that are out here telling people not to vote? That's the vibe I'm getting.
Well, they're saying the voting doesn't matter. Yes.
And I get that there's going to be people who think like this, and that's fine. I like to also think of things in reality. I think it's one of the biggest complaints that I have with MAGA, and I also have that complaint with far left, I guess, if I don't know the most accurate term. I think of them as like just anarchists. Live in reality, like
who bought the voter machines? A Republican. All right, Cynthia. Sorry, we're done.
Well, good morning, Papa.
Yeah,
you've
hey,
been
Papa.
up here How you doing?
Hey, good morning. What's going on? Well, I know what's going on. All right. It's a lot going on. A lot been happening in these past little 20 minutes that I've been up here.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I'm about to get off.
And so now, listen, I didn't say anything. I didn't chime in because the discussion was flowing just fine. But I will say this: the real key issue here is like what Scott was saying, is that we're not trying to tell you to think like us. We're not trying to. We want you to think for yourself. Here's the thing that should unify us all is when we're looking at those basic human needs and how to best serve them, what we definitely want you to consider is who is going to help you get those human needs met, and are they being decent in the way that they're going about it? If they're going about these decent ideals, but in a terrible manner or an illegal manner or some unethical or immoral manner, then no. No, who would want you to support somebody who's doing immoral, illegal, or unethical things? Of course, we would speak against that. And we would be on the exact same page, even if it was someone on the other side or the middle, whatever. We are not for anyone who does not have human interest, basic human interest at heart. We would always speak against that. So I don't know exactly kind of like why you guys are thinking, we want you to think. First and foremost, Mike's independent, Scott's independent. I'm, for lack of a better word, independent. I'm in the room. I'm barely political as it is, but I do believe that we need to look after each other and take care of each other. And I was very politically laxed until I really ran into Mike and these discussions. So this is what needs to happen. People like myself need to have a better understanding, because I'm not just going to run out and do anything without having some understanding of what I'm doing. Just going, just quit. Just don't show up or just don't do. That's not the reality that most people are able to live in. If you can and can do so, good for you. Most people don't have that option. So what you have to realize is that your reality is not everyone else's. And you have to figure out the best way for these realities to merge for change to happen.
The fact is you see it. Just because you, me, whoever sees a problem does not mean everyone sees the problem. For whatever reason, you think it's obvious. Well, obviously they don't. So our job is, if they're willing to listen, then we need to convince them, whether it's just by talking and letting people learn to trust what we're saying, or giving them information and letting them figure it out themselves. Or if they're not willing to listen, then we don't talk about it and we stop worrying about it, because I can't worry about people that aren't going to be willing to listen. I don't have the time. I don't have the brain power. There's too much going on for me to care about someone that's not going to listen at all. So when you say that voting doesn't matter, all you're doing is giving up. You are giving up. For someone who's literally sitting there saying that we need to fight back, you're literally telling people to give up. No, we need to do it all at minimum. We need to be protesting. We need to be calling our representatives. We need to be being involved more than 20 to 30% in primaries. We need to be involved more than 50% in midterms. We need to be involved more than 60% in the general election. We need to do all of them. We need to have hard conversations about things. We need to hold our representatives in state, local, and federal accountable for their choices. We need to do the work. We need to do it all. Is it exhausting? Of course it's exhausting. Of course it's exhausting. The reality is we are here because for Too long, too many, did none of it.
Vonda makes a good point. If voting was so unimportant, why is it such an integral part of Project 2025?
It's the video I made today. If voting didn't matter, why would they be doing so much work to prevent people from being able to vote? Why would they need to get rid of voting stations in colleges if voting didn't matter? Why would they need to try and do things that make it harder for people to vote if voting didn't matter? They'll say it's for another reason, but everybody knows that voting for these reasons is hard. Like voting that the end result is less people are going to vote.
Technical question. You put out a video today?
This morning
Yeah.
on TikTok, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
It was
You know,
it was
I
literally while I went live. It wasn't like right before. It wasn't like before I went live. I like hit while the 5-minute countdown was going, I hit post.
Okay, because normally I get notified when you set a video, and that is very hit or miss now.
Yep.
Sometimes I have to go digging to find your videos.
All right. I'm going to do the quick thing because I actually have to head out because my family's here. I want to have some lunch with them. And then I've got another interview with another person. I do want to point this out. If you, in your state, I would love to talk people from every state. If you are progressive, especially if you care about changing the status quo, if you know someone who's running for in that way, I want to talk to them. I want to interview them. I want to make it so we have as many people, as many videos on the tube for people that are running, so we can get visibility up, so we can get the conversation going. This is the goal in 2026. I'm still interviewing other people, but this is the big thing. So if you know anyone running, please help me out. Go join the Discord and let us know, like connect us to their website at minimum. If not, connecting us to them themselves. It would be really appreciative. Also, again, I go live on the tube 30 minutes before I go live on TikTok. I post stuff over there also every day. We're trying to grow. We don't know what TikTok is going to be like. Running for Congress, whether state or federal, or governor, or senator, or any of them. I'm interviewing someone who's running for attorney general. If they're trying to change the status quo, if they're trying to actually make things better, I'm all for talking with them, especially if it helps them potentially get through the primaries or get voted in. 3 days, we'll find out what's happening with TikTok. If you like what we do here, please follow over on the tube, because I don't know what it's going to be like here in 3 days. So and watching the stuff that I post about all of these people running helps get their name recognition out, helps increase the chances that they will be seen by other people. So please watch it all the way through and then like it. Those kind of things help. They help. When people see that a lot of people have watched a video, they go, oh, maybe I should watch that video. Just saying. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Thank you for everyone that came up. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the gifts. I appreciate you all. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully nothing super crazy is gonna happen, but we'll see. You guys are amazing, just the way you are, and I love you all very much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember to sing, laugh, dance, smile. Do something that makes you happy. Bye, guys. Goodbye, YouTube. Thank you.